Have you ever come across a situation where you are made fun of by others because of the language or the dialect you speak? Well, here in the last lesson, which is written by Alphonse Daudet, we are going to look at it, and in this lesson, it covers this whole theme of linguistic chauvinism, where one language is considered superior to that of the others. So, in this lesson, we are going to talk about one ruling class, that is the Prussians. If we look at who the Prussians are, they are from a historically prominent German state. In this lesson, the Germans or the Prussians try to impose their language upon the people of France. So that is something which we will be going to look at it. And the main theme here, like I've said, is linguistic chauvinism. My language is superior to your language. My language is better, so you need to learn my language. That is what the ruling class always do. From our state, from state of to everywhere, even in India, Hindi is uh, the dominant language or the main language. But again, there are so many people even in India who do not speak Hindi, but we're made to speak Hindi. Even now, the problem is going on. Even people of South India, they are not really in favor of Hindi as the dominant or the main language. They want their language to be considered as well. So that's it. And again, look at America, Latin America. We look at Mexico, Argentina, and many countries there. They still speak Spanish. The reason being they were occupied, or they were ruled by the Europeans, mainly the Spanish. When they were ruling those countries, the Spanish imposed their own language. Likewise, the Prussians here try to impose or assert their main language, and they try to force the people of France to learn their language. So this is something which we will be going through it. The story is written by Alphonse Daudet. He was a French novelist and a short story writer. The lesson is set in the days of this Franco-Prussian War, so the war between the Germans and the French, in which France was defeated by the Prussians. In the story, the French districts of Alsace and Lorraine have passed into the hands of the Prussians. The Prussians have taken over the districts of Alsace and Lorraine. The theme of the story is linguistic chauvinism, or it talks about the importance of freedom and the preciousness of one's own language through the story. The characters involved in the story are Franz, Franz. He is the person who narrates in the first person narrative I. First person narrative I. The character Franz. He is not really bothered or conscious about his studies or his own language. He is careless, and only in the end he realizes how important or how good or how wonderful his how rich his language was. Only in the end, when it was about to be taken away by the Prussians. Another character is M. Hamel. He is the teacher, the French language teacher. He is strict. Sometimes he's also not really into his work, but he is a very sensitive and honest man, and a very proud person, proud to be from France, and he is really passionate about his language. If we look at the story, the summary, the French districts of Alsace and Lorraine have now fallen into Prussian hands, that is the Germans, and the order has come from Berlin that in all the schools in Alsace and Lorraine only German language will be taught, only German language will be imparted. So meaning French language will be removed or wiped away totally. There will be no French language in French soil. That is something which is really sad, because it is like you're at home, but you're not allowed to speak your own language. You're not allowed to learn your own language, something like that. The French teachers were no more required. They will be sacked or they will be fired. M. Hamel, the French teacher, could no longer stay in the school now, because French teachers are no longer required now. Franz, the character, was the student of M. Hamel, and he usually never came to school on time. And Franz realizes the truth that he has wasted so many precious days where he could have learned his own language. Now it is being taken away and it is too late. He immediately regrets and realizes why he had not taken his lesson seriously. On that last day, the last lesson, on the last day, M. Hamel gave his lesson to his students with utmost devotion and sincerity as ever. M. Hamel also realizes, like Franz, that it was not only the fault of students but also the fault of the teacher, the children, the parents, that this mother tongue is about to be taken away and it has lost its respect, it has lost its importance. M. Hamel tells the class that French is the clearest, a beautiful and logical language in the world. He also asks the students to always keep their mother tongue close to their hearts, as when people are enslaved, when people are put behind bar, their language is the key to release themselves from that prison. If they speak their own language, then there is this sense of unity. A sense of unity will come and it will allow them to free themselves from being imprisoned, or if they're imprisoned, it will be their language will be the key to release themselves. Franz also noticed the pigeons on the rooftop, and he questioned whether the Germans will also let the pigeons sing in German. Meaning, because the imposition of German language upon the people of France is as absurd as trying to let the pigeon sing in Germans as well. It's as illogical as that. M. Hamel ends his last lesson by saying "Vive la France," meaning "Long live France," on the blackboard. He could not even utter he could not even utter it, and all he could do was lean on the board, on the blackboard, and write "Vive la France," meaning "Long live France." The story is narrated by a French boy named Franz. He is a lazy boy. However, in spite of his laziness, Franz is a lover of nature and he likes to play around. At the same time, he also hates his teacher. He doesn't like his teacher. and he has no interest at all in studying France. Like I've said, an author has come from Berlin after the Prussians took over the districts of Alsace and Lorraine in France, that the German language, rather than the French, should be taught in schools. Furthermore, it is the school French teacher M. Hamel's last day. It will be his last day, meaning French teachers will be removed. Like France, the similarity between France and the teacher on the last day is they have this deep sense of patriotism. They love their country, and there is this a deep sense of nostalgia and grief, and this again sense of grief and regret, meaning they have not really, or they have not fully utilized their time in the right way, meaning M. Hamel has also not really taught what he should have to the fullest, and Franz has also not really paid full attention to his teachers. He doesn't like going to school, so there it is. On the last day, the village men, people there, have also come to attend the last lesson, to pay their respect and honor to the French teacher who will be gone the day itself. If we look at it, the village is regretting, and it is sad that they didn't learn their mother tongue in their childhood. The character of Franz was shocked when he learned that it was his last lesson in French. He is shocked because he does not know his own language, French language. Furthermore, on learning about the last lesson, a sudden interest arises in him for learning French. Very typical. We only realize something, a true value, the real value, only when it is gone. Or we come to realize the value or the importance of someone or something only when it is snatched away, or only when it is taken away from our hands. And Franz is feeling that. Franz is getting that. He is reeling in the deep sense of shock and regret, because the beautiful French language will be taken away, and there is no time for him to learn French. Even if he wants to learn it, it will be taken away, and the opportunity is now gone. So as soon as he learned that French language was to be taken away, immediately he developed this deep sense of liking and respect for M. Hamel. His feeling of dislike turned into a deep sense of respect for his teacher, M. Hamel. At the same time, M. Hamel also realized he has not really given his best effort to teach his students. M. Hamel explains that they are all at fault for lacking eagerness to learn their own language, the beautiful French language. He also includes himself in this fault. He blames himself for his lack of sincerity sometimes in teaching them. Again, there is a reflection of patriotism in his praise for French language. M. Hamel says that French language is the most logical and most beautiful language in the world. It seems that M. Hamel got emotional on this occasion. Talking about the beautiful French language, he got emotional. He asked the class to guard their language. French is the most beautiful language. Safeguard it. Use it. Utilize it. Never ever lose this beautiful language. He says that being close to one's own language is a way to escape the clutches of slavery. They are now under the hands of Prussians. But if they stay together, if they stay united, if they safeguard their own language, it can also be the key to save themselves or to flee themselves from the clutches of Germans. This language will assist them in attaining freedom from the Germans. The people realize the significance of their mother tongue. Moreover, they feel the reason for their defeat in illiteracy. France feels that it is impossible to remove one's own language from a person. Absurd! How can a person impose their own language on me? Upon me? I have my own language. I speak French. How can the Germans impose their own language on me? It is so absurd. It is like trying to impose their own language on the pigeons and forcing the pigeons to sing in Germans. It is absurd. It is logical because it is something that is natural to a person. Now I speak English. English is not my official language. The language or the dialect which I truly speak is my mother tongue. As I grew up, I learned English is secondary to me. And we should safeguard our own dialect. We should not look down on others. We should not try to put down other people. But we should safeguard our own dialect. We should preserve it. We should not lose it. And it should be in such a way that no matter how hard other people try to impose it, we should always safeguard it. The last lesson, again, it reflects on the importance of one's own language for any race and why it is crucial for us to safeguard it. Let's look at some of the important questions. One important sentence. When people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prison. Let us look at this. Through the words of M. Hamel, the author tries to bring out the importance of one's own language. He stresses on the fact that one's own language, if safeguarded, can be the key to unity and liberation, even in the midst of chaos and defeats. It means no power will get the better of the other if they consciously make an effort to preserve and uphold the language they speak. Let us look at the character of M. Hamel. The author Alphonse Daudet has presented M. Hamel's character with this deep sense of sympathy and respect. He is presented in the mold of a traditional schoolmaster. He always kept his terrible ruler under his arm, and France also reminds us how cranky M. Hamel was. That particular day, France was in a great dread of scolding as he had not prepared his lesson on participles. M. Hamel was a hard taskmaster, and France was scared about it. We see the other side of M. Hamel's character after the author came from Berlin. He is a totally different person, a totally different man, soft and not cranky at all. He was a transformed man after he heard the news. He became quite patient and gentle towards his student and did not scold France for being late. He did not use his ruler when France got mixed up and got confused with his lesson. M. Hamel declared with great sadness that it was his last French lesson. He was a highly respected man, both by his students as well as by the village elders. He had completed 40 years in the same school. Remember, he has been in the school for 40 years. He has been told that he has to be removed. The village elders came to pay their last respect for his commitment and also for being such a grand teacher. M. Hamel is a patriotic man. He loved France and the French language from the core of his heart. He considered France as the most beautiful language in the world. He also asked the people to safeguard it among themselves and never to forget French language. Again, the concept of linguistic chauvinism is really important in this lesson. The idea that a ruling class language is superior to that of others is brought out very skillfully by the writer Alphonse Daudet. The story raises questions on the linguistic and cultural supremacy of the ruling class and their hankering for ruling over others and trying to impose their own cultures and identities. We can analyze the author from Berlin in this manner. It is nothing but a stark example of linguistic chauvinism. The imposition of German language over the French-speaking people cannot be justified at all. In fact, it is the worst kind of colonialism. But the love of M. Hamel and the village elders from France doesn't amount to this. They are victims of it. German is being imposed on the French-speaking people of Alsace and Lorraine. M. Hamel feels genuinely proud of French language and urged others not to forget the beautiful language such as the French language.